Ready. Okay. Yeah, I think we are live now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Facebook Live. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. V Mohan, Chairman of Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialty Center and a Senior Diabetologist of Chennai. I've been doing this series now for some time, and we have had some very special guests in the past. Today, I'm very happy to and honored to introduce two very special guests who are also very close friends of mine. So we have Roshan Poncha, the lady, beautiful lady with the red dress. Welcome, Roshan. And we have Cyrus. We have Cyrus Poncha. So tell you a little bit about Roshan and Cyrus. We'll talk about lot about them, but just to very briefly introduce them. Roshan grew up in Mumbai, and at the age of 2, she was diagnosed to have type 1 diabetes, which she has now had for many years, many decades, in fact, and she has had a very successful life despite having type 1 diabetes. She's also one of my favorite patients and also one of my best controlled patients. And that's why I thought I will invite Roshan to tell us all about her story. And Cyrus, of course, many of you will already be knowing. So Cyrus Poncha is the Indian squash coach. He has coached, he himself, of course, plays squash, but then he is very well known as a squash coach. And he took to coaching at a very young age. And I'm going to talk to him about that, what made him do that. And he's very well known in the squash circles and very nice person. And also a very good husband. You can't think of a better husband for all the support that he has given to Roshan, and they make a lovely little pair. And therefore, welcome Roshan and Cyrus to the show. We'll soon be joined at any point now. We look forward to that by a celebrity of sorts, Miss Joshna Chenappa, whom I don't think I need to introduce to any one of you. She is a kind of squash queen of India. She has won so many national titles, and she has won Asian titles and Commonwealth titles, and the list is long. She's also held a world number 10 position at some point. I hope at some point she becomes world number 1. Let's wish her all the best. She's also very unassuming and humble, and she is very well known to Cyrus and Roshan. And so she very kindly agreed to join the show. So when she joins in, we will start with asking her also a few questions. So to start with, Roshan, I'm going to start with you because of 3 of them. You are actually the star of the show. And you're the reason why we are connected, and that's why they've come in. And of course, through you to your husband, who's a squash player and a coach, and then from there to Joshna, who's a squash champion. So let's start with you. One thing I wanted to tell you, when I was just looking through your case sheet, and I actually brought, believe it or not, I actually brought your case sheet, okay? And so I brought it, kept it here, so let me revise it. Anything I do with a lot of research. So I said, I shouldn't get my facts wrong. So I got it here. So I just noticed something, and I noticed that you're born on 8th of April. And so I said, hey, that's my birthday is 10th of April. So we're only 2 days apart. So we're both Aryans. And so that's something we have in common. But let's go back to the year 1976, when you were, that's the year I finished my final year MBBS. I actually got my degree in 1976. So that's the time I passed out from Madras Medical College. And by the time I'd already worked in diabetes for 5 years, because in 1971, when I joined medical college, I joined my father. And from 71 to 76, I already finished 5 years in diabetes when I got my MBBS degree. So at that time, you at the age of 2 were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Do you remember that at all, or what happened, how you were diagnosed? Of course, 2 years, I don't expect to remember anything. But growing up, 3, 4, 5, you must be having some memories of how it was to have type 1 diabetes.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Doctor. It's wonderful to be in conversation with you, Doctor, as renowned and who's so passionate about this subject. I'm very fortunate to have you. Let me say it at the outset. And I will be definitely repeating that also. To all of you who are watching, thank you so much. So what I remember is that my mother had said that all my actions had slowed down when I was 2 years old. Like I would take almost 10 minutes to tie a shoelace, or like to try and do things like that. It was so slow that they had got my doctor at that time, Dr. Atya, had just advised them, get her sugar tested.
Okay.
And when they did that, my mother said it came like a bomb falling on them. Type
Do you
1
remember
diabetes.
that value? Do you remember that value? Because I remember Jazz Sethi telling me your blood sugar was 1050. That's a kind of
Oh,
a record. I
oh,
don't
I
think it
don't
will
know,
be
but I
used for
must
you.
find
Yeah.
out what the value was. Yeah.
Must have been high. Yeah. Okay.
So,
And then so straight away, then after that, you started on insulin.
yeah, this actually, my father had a very good friend who was not a diabetologist in Rich Candy
Okay.
Hospital, Dr. Fali Atia. He is
Oh yeah,
actually a gastroenterologist.
very famous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he had, I believe that daddy had used in the first few days, a mixture of short acting and long acting insulin. And if ever he needed to consult him, because he was a family friend, doctor said, my best time to call me is at 6:30 a.m.
Okay. Okay.
So,
That
so
suited
that,
you. We can give you insulin after seeing your sugar.
yeah, really. So that's how daddy would adjust the dose in the early days till he got the confidence. And then I was very fortunate to be on one injection in in my childhood and all my growing up years. Yeah. So
That
that's
is
how I
one of the most unusual features, Roshan. When you first came to me, and we'll come to that later, but I used to, that is why, always want to tell whoever's watching that in mathematics, 2 plus 2 is always 4. Okay, we agree. There's no other answer. No, if you ask 2 plus 2, oh, it's 4 only. There's only one answer. You know what? In biology, it need not be 4 at all. In fact, it's very rarely 4, if I put it that way. Human biology, human variation is so much. I'm just giving an equation, 2 plus 2, but I'm just saying you give so much insulin, so much sugar will come down. You can put whatever. It is never constant. Just like our fingerprints are different from each individual, and we are so different. Our genetic makeup is different. You won't believe how much biology varies. So, to put it in a nutshell, in a common man's knowledge, 2 plus 2 can be 3.5. It can be 3. It can be 4 also. Sometimes it can be 4.5 also. It can be 5 also. So, from that angle, I was taught as a student, and my experience has been that if anybody takes one shot of insulin, type 1, one shot of insulin, I used to tell all my students, that this is a human model for diabetic kidney disease. 10 years later, that person will come to you with florid kidney disease. And I used to see it again and again and again, and that's the usual biology. That's a 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Okay. Now comes a variation with people like you. You had taken it for already some, 20 odd years or something when you came. I think you came to me on 7th
28 years.
October 2004. I have the date. So
Wow.
7th October 2004, you came to me. Okay. So that's what? So many years, almost 28 years after you got it. And when you told me you're taking one insulin, you can react to that, but my first reaction was, gosh, your kidney is all gone. Then you go for the test, and then you came back and everything was normal, and they kept asking, you mean to say you took only one injection, you took only one injection, you took one injection? And you said yes, 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 yes. Then I realized that all human beings are not the same. There is so much of variation that you must be one of those exceptions who, of course, I've seen a couple of others. When you see 5 lakh patients, 1 or 2 exceptions always come. So I've seen another 1 or 2 like you, but that's in my entire life, 50 years in diabetes, and I'm seeing like 2, 3 who are like Roshan, who has taken one insulin and nothing happened to them. So I mean, all the good things happen to them. So no bad things happen to them. So yeah, so you can now relate the story about how you continued with that, and tell us a little bit about your studies, your
Yeah.
qualifications. I know you're highly qualified. You're a chartered accountant. You can tell us all.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I grew up in Bandra in a girls' school in Avabai Petit. And I had very supportive teachers also for all my, I just would
You
like
must
to say
have had very supportive parents as well.
my parents are, yeah, my life and my husband, without them,
Cool.
my first half was,
Cool.
but my parents looked after me entirely. And now my second half, I'm away
Yeah.
from my parents. I'm in Chennai. So my husband is doing all the work. And
Okay.
you, of course. So,
Yeah.
so growing up, yeah, in school also, I always had the support of teachers. I remember once my mother had gone, and told all the teachers when I was in kindergarten that my daughter cannot have any sweets.
Okay.
So once for and they used to check. I would always clearly say no, thank you, even as a 5-year-old. One day, my mother found out that I quickly opened the sweet and I ate it in school. When they give birthday sweets. My mother lost it, and she came to school, and my music teacher still remembers till today that the way your mother yelled at us saying, "You don't know what condition my daughter has. You cannot let this happen ever again." Right till the 10th standard, all the teachers remembered.
No,
It
but
was,
I remember somewhere you had made a note about yourself and you had said, but your father said that moderation is okay. You can
yeah,
take
yeah.
so
That's
you must
true.
have been your father's pet. So,
That's
yeah.
true. That's really true. So at home, in school, I had to maintain this absolute strict discipline. But at home, whenever in those days, imported chocolates and all were a rarity. So when
Yeah.
someone would go abroad and bring it home, we were a family of five. I have two siblings, brother and
Okay.
sister. And
Okay.
they would all eat. Only especially I must say, my mother is
Both,
the one.
both of them are free from diabetes, no? They don't
Yeah,
have.
they're all free, thank God. So my mother cut out sugar, okay, from her tea. So
Okay.
that's how, as a child, and she'd say, "We are same, same." So I
Yeah.
grew up saying, "Mommy and me, mommy and me." Daddy has a very sweet tooth, and my sister and brother, so they would eat the sweet. Mommy and I would be off. So
Okay.
that's how I managed right through. And Daddy always said, "Let's keep." Like my pet name is Roshnu. So they said
Yeah.
Roshnu will have a box of chocolates on the side, the same imported, like one piece. And whenever she feels low, she can taste it at that time. So I really never felt that I missed out on anything.
Great. That's a very nice way of saying rather than saying, because after some time craving starts, cheating starts, all those things. Then you went, you did a BA at St. Xavier's College, then you passed your chartered accountancy with article with Deloitte, Haskins and Sells. And
Yeah.
then your first job was at Deloitte.
My first job was at Deloitte. Yeah. I continued after CA. Then I joined Voltas.
Yeah, Tata Group,
Yeah,
Voltas.
Tata
Okay.
Group. I did some amazing time there, and I had some again very helpful colleagues there also.
Okay.
I won't forget once I had a hypo there, and my colleagues helped me really helped me a lot. So there are some memories that are really stuck in my head, and all my colleagues have helped me out. And my last job was with the World Bank.
World Bank. And that is just after you moved to Chennai. You got married in 2004 and came to Chennai.
Yeah,
Found this handsome young man who's been so supportive and took
yeah,
over the role of both your parents and guarded you and looked after you so well. Must be
yeah,
very proud of him. And I think that's the same year when you started coming to our center.
yeah.
So tell us
So
something about your experience about
yeah,
that. Yeah.
so I
I
must
think you
say that,
introduced to us by Mrs. Mani Clubwala and through Dr. My good friend Karmin Kulkarni in the US.
right.
Who
So
put us on.
when I came to Chennai with my previous doctor who had kept me on this one injection, he
Yeah.
lived until 2003. So he
Yeah.
died when he was 87. Until
No,
then,
I
he was.
when we were studying, Antia's FP Antia's books were, like a Bible for us, it's gastroenterology, and you're such a well-read man. So you were with a legend, actually. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he passed away, that was in 2003. I'd like to talk about
Yeah.
this. It was October 2003. And I told my dad, now we have to find a new doctor. So we went around a bit and we explained the way I had been brought up. And
Yeah.
with this one shot of acting and stuff, somehow nobody accepted me, let's put it that way. And they said, no, 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 you can't continue like this. You have to go on 3 insulin shots. And I told Daddy, I'm not ready to change my lifestyle after 28 years. I'm quite healthy. Let's see what God has in store for us. We'll carry on till then. I was quite convinced, doctor, there was no one. Suddenly, I
Okay.
met Cyrus on shadi.com. And I came to know that I have to come to Chennai.
Okay.
So, because when I met him, I didn't know, it was on shadi.com. I just knew there's this guy who was based in Chennai. And when I accepted his request, again, I just kept an open mind, which is again my father's teaching to me. Always keep an open mind. Don't say you always want to be in Bombay. So I said, chalo, theek hai, I'll accept the invitation.
Yeah.
Then I came to know he actually lives a mile away from me in Bandra, but he's only based here.
Okay. Right. Small world. Okay.
And
Right.
his mother and daddy were school friends.
Oh my God. That's
It's
amazing.
like, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that was the first thing. So I came to Chennai, and Mrs. Klapwala has been like a godmother to me over here.
Yeah.
She said, come on, baby, you got diabetes, we'll take you to a good doctor. So originally I was skeptical, doctor. I must
Yeah.
say, I was skeptical. I said, no one will believe and accept me, but chalo, let's go, open mind.
Yeah.
I came, did all the tests. I was floored by the center. I said, wow, there's one center where they do all the tests. let me get my test done and see everything. And I just sat there. I remember it was in Ananagar. And that first evening, and you met us in the evening, and I said, now, doctor's going to say again this thing. The moment I sat across you and you heard me out, you said, tell me about yourself. I told you, and you said, fine. I'm really shocked to hear about this, but why don't you just do your tests and come back to me? And these results are not so bad. If you can manage to control and show me a good control, I'm very happy for you to continue this way. I was so shocked, doctor, and felt so blessed at that moment that I've come to the right person. Your attitude and your openness of mind, I was just so relieved. I said, I have found the person I'm looking for.
So I remember this conversation, and then, as I told you, in my mind, might been taught by I used to teach, my teachers taught me that a type 1 person on one's insulin is a human model for diabetic kidney disease. That's how I used to teach, to tell them never ever do this. And here is a person who's come along, and then the results are good. And then I looked at the kidney, and it's good. And I said, if she can go on for 28 years, then she's an exception, And once she has done so well, and then I remember the HbA1c was about 8 or something, which is not too bad for a type 1 at that time. So I said, if she's able to maintain 8, and then your blood sugars were normal. I remember it was low. The first blood sugar, looking through your case sheet, it was low, 57 and something. And remember, you're on Lente insulin or something
right.
at that time, one Lente insulin. I said, one Lente insulin is able to control the next day's fasting, which is also rare because normally it works only for 8-10 hours. So how is this happening? Her body is a little different. So let's accept it. And that's how. And then when I said that, I didn't realize you had gone through all these. Only now I'm really actually hearing all this. I've not heard the story. But then the idea is to be open and say that each person is different. And I'll tell you how I learned this thing. I learned it from another type 1 patient, So what happened was, sometime in 1981 or 82, human insulin came. So at that time, I had a patient who was from, I think from Coimbatore or somewhere he was. And he was one of these old insulins, PZI insulins, even older than the Lente insulin. And it's a long-acting 36-hour, we used to call it as dirty insulin, really bad insulin, PZI, protamine, zinc, everything produces allergic reactions, many people. This guy very well controlled with PZI insulin and all that. So when he came along, I told him, what, this insulin and all, you're the only one in India probably using this now. And soon it will go away, and true enough, it went away. So I told him, I think it's time we changed. Then he said, what shall I change? I said, see, human insulins have come, we'll change over to Monotard, Actrapid, all these insulins have come, we'll change. He said, doctor, I'm doing well. Why should I change? He said, no, I think it's time you change because you're not going to have it anyway. After some time, anyway, you have to change. Might as well change. So I admitted him and started him on this newfangled insulin, which has come, human insulin and all that. Sugar shot up, went sky high. Then I tried adjusting this dose, that dose. He was admitted in my father's hospital. I was there at that time in Roypuram. I tried this, tried that. That's incidentally opposite the Pasi Club. That's where I grew up in Roypuram. So I have a big Pasi connection. The Bairam Shaws on one side and the Mehtas on another side and the Pasi Club. And I used to play cricket there, badminton there, all in the Pasi Club, And then the Fire Temple on this side. So the whole place is full. And Dr. Cooper, my teacher and Vice Chancellor, our Vice Principal of MMC, also on the street, all, complete Pasi families there. So then
we always give people when they are coming to the Parsi Club or the Fire Temple, we say, look for the MV Diabetes Hospital.
Yeah, and opposite that is, correct. So we used to play there, play cricket there, and so on. So this guy was admitted in my father's hospital, and then I tried this new insulin. Second day, third day, and every day he'll tell me, I told you, doctor. I'll say, no, give me one more day. I'm going to bring this up. I'll bring it down. No, it might be a prestige issue, ego issue for me. I had to bring it down. Third day, he told me, doc, why don't you try my old insulin? So I said, okay, I'll try your old insulin. I tried it and it worked, Then I learned a very important lesson in life, which I'll never forget, which is why I applied it to you when you said that. Yeah. Never trouble a trouble until the trouble troubles you.
Right.
Never trouble a trouble until the trouble troubles you. I'll give you an example. The snake going along. You're seeing the snake, it's going away. Somewhere it's going. Keep quiet, snake will go away. Now, if you go to touch the snake, what snake is it? Let me go and say it'll bite you, So a trouble which you did not want, you invited on yourself, So never trouble the trouble until the trouble troubles you. The snake is coming towards you, you run or kill it or do something. That's a different issue, you know. So if somebody is doing very well, if any patient comes to me, very unconventional, totally unscientific, but doing very well, leave them alone. Best principle, leave them alone. Their body is adjusted to that. They know their body better than a diabetologist can. We spend like half an hour with you. You are spending the whole 365 days with yourself. You know better. Okay.
Yeah.
So
in fact,
then,
this is exactly, doctor, you have said exactly my father's words all my life growing up. Because many people would come to him, Mr. Nanavati, you know, now there's this new insulin, there's this new insulin, they used to tell me. So my father again always told me one thing: if something is working well with you, just let it be. So
why
you
not?
don't worry about other things. So this is
Correct.
exactly.
Why not? It may
I'm
not
sure
even
you're happy
it
to
may
hear
not
this.
even- just because a newfangled thing comes in, sometimes it's good to be old-fashioned. Then from there you went to the World Bank, and so tell us about that World Bank, and then after that tell us about your your children, and I'm waiting to hear about that, and the pump,
Yeah.
of course, that on
So,
the pump.
so when I joined the World Bank, I was very excited to join that job as well, and then after I was there for about 2 years, and then I also thought that I was married for 2 years, and we married a little late in the community. So I got married at 30. So by the time I was 32, I wanted to start family planning. So I remember at that point again, I approached you and said, "How should I go about it?" And you had told me about the insulin pump earlier, but I had said, I'm fine now, so I'll continue. But then it came to a day when you said, you know, if you have to go through a pregnancy, you have to be on the pump. So at that point, I realized I think it makes sense. Now I'll take this new, I'll go on and I'll try it out at least.
Yeah.
So I tried it out with you in 2005
Five.
and or 2006.
Six, 2006. 2006.
In April, I think 2006, I tried it out. And again, Mrs. Clubwala and my mother were by my side in your clinic. And first, for 1 year, I just got my sugar to below, like tried to bring it to below diabetic levels. And only then you told me you can think of conceiving. So for 1 year, I was only working on doing that. And you were guiding me right throughout and hand holding me with all the adjustments.
Despite that, I think the first thing miscarried you had, no, in 2007.
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
one,
The first one was a miscarriage.
It's not related to diabetic problem.
Non-diabetic related, yeah. So then I had to have a surgery also.
2008, I think you went through the pregnancy.
Then
and then the second one was 2010. So, Rustam and Eruk. Why don't you call them? You'll have a chat with them.
Rustam, Eraj.
Because it's nice for people, who are type 1 to know that they can have a baby and 2 babies and then have healthy. Hi. So this is Rustam and that's Eruk. Okay.
Eraj.
How do you pronounce it?
Eraj.
Eraj. Okay. Eraj. Okay. Rustam and Eraj. Okay. So Rustam and Eraj. First of all, they both don't have diabetes. So that's the first question which people will ask. If I have children, will they have diabetes? And again, as I said, in biology, there's no single answer for everything. It's very, very unlikely. Having said that, there are always exceptions. But then these two boys have been blessed that they are normal. They don't have anything. So I want Rustam and Eraj to talk about how it feels when your mother, I think Joshna has just joined. Welcome, Joshna. You can switch on your video also. We have the two boys here, Rustam and Eraj. So I was asking, hi, Joshna. Welcome. So we have Roshan and Cyrus and the two boys, Rustam and Eraj here. I was just asking the two boys a question. So how did you feel when you grew up and you knew that your mother has type 1 diabetes? You saw her wearing this little gadget, pump and all that. Did it affect you in any way? Or you thought it's okay? It's all normal?
No, it was quite okay, really. The only
Okay.
thing was, it was actually quite okay. I was just doing whatever she told me to do. So, like sometimes she would ask me to get juice, so I got juice for her.
So have you seen your mother? Either of you can answer. Have you seen your mother go into low sugar reaction?
Yes.
What
Sometimes.
happens? How do you know that? How do you know she's got low sugar? First of all.
So first,
If it's below at least 79,
Yeah.
Then it's
See,
little
he knows
low.
the values. He knows the values also. Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of low. Then we should get no.
What do you give up?
Yeah.
Below
If
80, you
it's
should
below
get
80, we
juice.
should get juice.
Sometimes when she's like not really like for once I was playing the piano
Yeah.
and I was asking my mother, like normally sometimes I like her to come and to play piano with me. I was
Yeah.
answering out to her and she just didn't answer.
He didn't
And
reply.
when I went over there, she was looking
Okay.
like
Little
I was
dazed.
taking
Little
her,
dazed.
yeah, date. And I shook her like this, and then she is still not answering me. So I
Okay.
thought maybe I'll just take her test. And
Were you frightened when that happened? Did
I
you
was
get
not
frightened?
sure what was happening.
First time maybe. After that, you
I
know.
just
Yeah. Low sugar.
I
Yeah.
just said, okay, let me do her test.
Okay.
I've learned how to do her test, so I did her test, and
That's wonderful. You know how to do the test. Yeah. Very good.
she was 30. She was 30. So
30. Okay.
yeah.
It was very low that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, so I called my father. He was at office. So it was only
Okay.
me and my brother. So
Okay.
what he did was he just ran and we got some juice. And I was trying to put it in her mouth also. She was not opening her mouth. So I had to just shove it in her mouth like that. And then, yeah, and then in some time
Few
I just
minutes. Few
I gave,
minutes she recovered.
I gave her quite a lot of juice that time. Like I know how much juice we have this one standard glass, how much juice we should give. So I give
Yeah.
little extra than what we normally give. So yeah,
You've done a remarkable job. You even found out the sugar. You found out what to give, how much to give, and you're a half doctor. You should take up medicine. By the way, become a diabetes specialist. I'll train you. Okay. The other thing that you all can do, both of you, now that you raised this point, if it ever happens again, suppose juice is not able to go in. Glucose is easier. It'll get dissolved. You just take a little bit in the mouth and put it, and quickly it'll get absorbed. Okay, because drink, if you give her a drink, she still has to swallow it. With the glucose, she doesn't even have to swallow it. If you're not able to put it, put little around the lips and the mouth, and slowly the glucose will start getting absorbed. It's pretty fast. So keep some glucose or actual glucose with you, powder. So that also works. Okay.
I remember also
Yeah.
once
Tell me.
I was going to read my book in my room
Okay.
and my mother was not feeling very well.
Okay.
And my brother went for a birthday party and my father was at office.
Okay. So you looked after. Okay.
So she kept my father's phone number because she was feeling very
Yeah.
uneasy. So
Okay.
I went to read my book in my room and she said come back every 5 minutes to check if I'm there. And
Wow.
I was coming back and the third time when I came, I said, Mama, are you there? She said no. I quickly ran to the phone and asked my father what should I do. He said shake her and then give her some juice. If she was low, he hoped she was low. Then she got up after a little time and yeah, she was fine.
Wonderful. See, I have heard, a mother talking about a child with type 1 diabetes. I've occasionally had a brother or sibling or a husband talk about the wife, talk about the husband, and so on. But actually, I've not really had a child tell this to me. And so, with my 50 years experience, I'm also still learning how a child can look after. That's what is the beauty of these kind of Facebook live. When you come to the office, it's also formal. We say, okay, take this, go there. We don't get time for this. This gives me an opportunity to get into the actual life of people with type 1 diabetes. And I'm sure there are many people with type 1 diabetes who are, listening to this, and for them it will be a great learning. So the other thing I want everyone with type 1, young children, boys, girls, all of you who are watching this program, is Roshan was able to study well, be a topper in the college. She had great jobs including Deloitte and World Bank. On top of that, she decided to have a family, and she has 2 children. She was able to get pregnant and get 2 children. Successful deliveries, and the 2 boys are fine, and the children don't have type 1 diabetes. So all these are learning things, which these are all, if you're asked frequently asked questions, these are all the things will come out. Will my child get? Will this get? Can I go through pregnancy? Can I get married? Can I do this? All these questions have been answered by Roshan. Okay, so Roshan is a true role model. So now that we have Joshna here, I'm going to switch around a little bit. So thank you, Rastam and Era. So we'll call you later if you like. If you're welcome to stay, of course. So I'm going to switch to this subject of squash, since Cyrus is there. But before that, Cyrus, I have one question for you before your squash avatar you go to, the squash hat you wear. Before that, I'm going to ask you to wear the husband hat. And tell me two things. I remember something you told me long ago about your engagement and the first date and how you found out about Roshan having diabetes. That's a story which is imprinted in my mind. So I want you to say that. And then that will be very romantic and very nice. And then the other thing I'd like to say is your perspective as a husband, very briefly. And then we're going to go to squash and bring you and Joshna.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, doctor. So first day when I met Roshan, I went to pick her up from her house. This was in Bombay. I was on holiday, so I took the opportunity, called her in the afternoon, and said, "I'll pick you up at night to go out for dinner." So the first thing I did, I just in fact traveled from overseas and I came directly to Bombay. So I had a box of chocolates, and when I went and picked her up, in fact, the first thing when she opened the door, I just said hi, and I gave her this box of Gillian Belgian chocolates, which Joshna likes a lot.
Okay.
So I gave her these chocolates, and at that time, in fact, she took the opportunity, in fact, there and then to tell me, I'm diabetic, I can't have a chocolate. And
you didn't know that? You didn't know that before? You didn't know that she had type 2 diabetes?
I did not know that before. And, my mother was a type 2 diabetic, and so she used to not really have much. To me, okay, you're diabetic, there's nothing wrong in being a diabetic is what I thought. And I felt I have no issues with that. My family never really had any issues with that as well. And, I felt it was just very, very normal, the way she was handling it, the way her family was handling it. So, that gave me a lot of confidence. So I was very happy with that.
I just wanted to interrupt and say that I see two stories here from what you have just said. Two positive vibes. I'm thinking of the listeners who are listening, and I have two positive stories for them to pick up. One, Roshan could have hidden it when you said that, oh, this guy may run away from me, so I'm not going to tell him I have type 1 diabetes. I'll break it to him after 6 months, 1 year. Slowly, I'll break it to him. That could have been. Instantly, she said, I have type 1 diabetes. So, see, that's an honest reaction, and that has told Cyrus how honest Roshan is. He also thought about it. Oh, she could have hidden it. She didn't do that. Unfortunately, people hide in our country. I know people will come and say, my daughter is going to get married, and that's type 1. I said, oh, great. So what? You told them about it? No, we are not told. I said, you haven't told, and you're getting them married? Yeah, he won't marry if you tell. I said, this is suicidal. Please don't do this. Please tell them. Oh, they may run away. It doesn't matter if they run away. Somebody else will come, So don't wait for the right person, but don't do this. Don't do this. They'll say, no, okay, going ahead, we'll do it. I've actually had a person who got married like that, not told. And in the night, during the honeymoon, first night, this girl rushed to the bathroom and she was taking her insulin shot, and her husband just walked in and saw her taking this injection. So he thought she's a drug addict. Okay, he didn't know anything about diabetes. Okay. So she said, you're on drugs. And she said, no, I'm not on drugs. How can she say, no, I've got diabetes, So she tried, no, you're on drugs. And then she broke down. She said, no, I have type 1 diabetes. And she said, you cheated me? You didn't even tell me? It's a true story. He immediately packed her up and said, come on, pack up. She said, who's your doctor? Then they said, my hospital. He brought her and dumped her there and said, bye, I'm going. He said, doc, you look after her, I'm going. He said. Then the parents came crying, and I said, I told you. So many times I told you. Now what's happened now? She's married, she's gone now. She's not even consummated marriage and she's gone, And what are you going to do now? You should have thought about it. She need not have married at all, And then, so it's not once. It's happened several times. So that is the first reaction, Roshan accepting it. Now, what about you, Cyrus? You accept that. Type 1 diabetes, and you say, doesn't matter. My mother also had type 2 diabetes. I wish we had more people like you, Cyrus, and like you, Roshan, because that is the way to go. Type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes for that matter. The difference is in one you have to take insulin, the other one you may take insulin. That's the only difference. But it's not a contagious disease. It's not a killer disease. You can live 50, 60, 80, 90 years with this. You can have a normal life. You can have everything. So why should people, hide it, cheat, do all these things? It is very, very wrong. And this particular aspect I have not discussed on Facebook Live. This is the first time I'm discussing it. Many people will be watching this, and therefore already some questions have started coming. In fact, Dr. Vakil has joined. Nice, Dr. Vakil. Nice to see that you're there. I'm going to talk to you later. Okay. You're catching up after 35 years, Dr. Vakil. So I see him there. He's already put a message there. So that's a great thing that you did. Now, I'm going to switch. Tell us one incident about your one more, and then we'll switch from diabetes after that. So have you had, after that, marriage things? You must have had, some sudden thing when she went into a severe low sugar reaction.
Absolutely.
Or something like that. Yeah.
One of the first, it happened very soon after we got married. And one night, she actually, at that time, she was still taking one injection a day. So, in fact, Roshan taught me and her father taught me to give her the one injection a day. So, I started giving that injection to her one a day. And so, what happened is one night, she was not hungry, so she didn't eat dinner, or she ate very little. And at around 3 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly felt her shaking. I switched on the light. She was frothing and shivering tremendously, and I didn't know what to do. So I panicked that night. I really panicked because that was really terrible. And I called her father at that time, and he said, "Give her sugar, give her glucose," which I did. And then he said, after like a couple of hours, he said, "Give her toast," because it was not coming up very quickly. So then give her some toast afterwards. So, that was my first experience, which really, I remember my hands were trembling, when I was trying to administer the glucose to her.
You thought it's like a fit or something like that. Yeah, because the symptoms of hypoglycemia, severe hypoglycemia going to fits and neurological fits are very similar. And some children have both. It's very difficult to make out which is which. So it is. So what I wanted to just tell you one point about that is, just imagine those days you had only lente and plain and all these insulins which came from bovine and later from porcine. Today with the the glargine and the lantus and the tracebas and all the fine insulins that we have, hypoglycemia is like 80% less than what you would have gone through and people of your generation that time on the older insulins would have gone through. Now, Cyrus, let's come to squash. Now, you have an unusual thing. You started off, playing squash, and then, quite early in you started squash at the age of 12. Okay, so I want you to do a couple of things. First of all, tell me how you took up squash. Tell us a little bit, now that we have the squash queen also with us. Tell us a little bit about squash in India and how popular it is. Because most people, more glamorous tennis and badminton is what people talk about. But I know that from a medical point of view, squash is one of the best and the healthiest games. I believe you burn almost 750, 800 calories in 1 hour. It's a fantastic game. But, many people think this is a men's game. It's too tough for a lady kind of a thing. But then we have Joshna to tell us that that is not true. So you took up at the age of 12, and then you became a national semi-finalist. But then at the age of 18, I was very surprised that you took to coaching. You're a teenager and you become a coach at 18. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. And then becoming a national coach at 22, maybe one of the youngest in the world to become a national coach at 22. So how did that happen? First of all, how did you take up squash? Second, why did you become a coach instead of going that route? And you already reached the semi-final. So why didn't you go that route and become a national champion or world champion or whatever? What made you go to coaching at the age of 18 and at 22?
So it started at a summer camp in Bombay. So I'm also brought up in Bombay at the Otters Club. I started in a summer camp. That's the way I started, enjoyed it, loved it, and started playing. Unfortunately, not too many coaches in India at that time. And that's something which got me into coaching. I started helping young children. So not, of course, with the intention of, coaching full-time, but I just started helping children on the weekends, playing with them. Parents then approached me and said, "Why don't you do it professionally?" And that's the way it really started. Okay. So
even at that age, when you're 18 and 22, people are accepting you as a coach. It was a very young age, the teenager coaching. So it was accepted at that age.
So, means it. I started slowly, had a few children, but I had a good bond with the children, good relation with the parents, so things were quite good, and it was a start of a great journey.
Okay. Of course, that took you to Dronacharya Award 2005 from Abdul Kalam, Asian Junior Coach in 2003, 4, and 8, and Asian Squash Coach of the Year 2010, 14, 16. The awards and lists are long. So, have you actually coached Joshna, or how is it? Has she
Yes, of
come?
course. So
Yeah?
when I shifted, what happened is the Indian Squash Academy in the year 2000 was created by Mr. N. Ramachandran. It was his brainchild to
Okay.
have this center over here for
Okay.
players who don't have access to clubs. So
Okay.
it's open to all, open to young juniors.
That's based in Chennai, is it? That's based in
It's
Chennai.
based in Chennai at Egmore.
Okay.
It has a world-class setup with 8 squash courts at the Indian
Wow.
Squash Academy.
Very good. I didn't even.
It's at the SDAT complex, so it's very close by to where we all are. So that's so he asked me to come over here and head the academy and look after the training over here. Then we did bring a foreign coach as well, and then Joshna had already started playing, but she also joined the academy at that time, and has been playing over there since.
So the Indian Squash Academy you spoke about, but what's the Squash Rackets Federation of India?
Oh, so that's the governing body for squash in India. So now also from the coaching board,
under that squash thing for all squash comes under that. Yeah.
So it's the governing body. So from a coaching role, I am now also wearing the hat of an administrative role. So
you're vice president. What are you there?
I'm the secretary general of the federation. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Now let's come to Joshna. So Joshna, first of all, I noticed that your birthday is September 15th, and we are at August 15th. So many happy happy returns day in advance, because I may not get a chance to wish you on September 15th. So I'm wishing you right. I just noticed that was exactly 30 days from now. Saw that from your CV. So tell us about your journey. So how did you're a Madras girl, Chennai girl, no, born and brought up here?
Yeah. Firstly, hi to everyone. Thank you for having me to be able to chat with you today. And also, like before I start, it's just so interesting to hear more of Roshan's story, as well as the kids being so supportive and involved, and being obviously the ever so supporting husband. And so yeah, definitely gave me a complete differently insight of having type 1 diabetes, the supporting family that play a huge role. And I really appreciate what you said about being honest when you have any kind of ailment, or you have to live with whoever you end up with, to be as honest as possible, and the right one will always be there and support you. So I say that. I'm born and brought up here in Chennai, proper Chennai girl. I do come from Coorg in Karnataka. My family's there originally, but I'm born and brought up over here.
So your great grand uncle actually belonged to Coorg, no? General Karyappa. He is his Coorg background, isn't it? Or am I right in that? Or your great grand uncle? No, he was.
My grandmother's mother's brother. My grandmother. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get into squash? Of course, see, the question, I wanted to ask you the question, why squash? And then I said, I should ask, why not squash? Because people ask me, why diabetes? And they say, why not diabetes? I asked them, that's my reply and answer. So if I'd ask you why squash, you'll ask me, why not squash? So I'm asking you, how did you choose squash among the other games?
So for me, I started playing at the Madras Cricket Club. My father is a squash player, and he actually introduced me to the game. So that's where I first started playing. And actually, I played many sports. I played badminton, tennis, but I somehow stuck to playing squash because, my dad was there. He helped me out a lot initially. And there was a sense of familiarity playing the sport because of him. And that's why I chose squash.
Oh, good. So that kind of explains it very well. So you're, looking at your, the awards and the stuff that you got, Arjuna awardee, world rank number 10, current national champion, 18 times? Is that correct? Or any more added? 18, isn't it? Last count. and then Asian champion, Commonwealth champion, gold medalist, and Asian Games medalist. I was just asking Roshan, Cyrus, before this program started, saying it's a pity it's not there in the Olympic Games. Otherwise, Joshua could have been an Olympic champion as well. So among these, I mean, what is your kind of highlight? What is the one which you really treasure as the most important?
Well, all of them have been very special at the times that I have won it. But for me, the two events that stand out was me winning the nationals, the senior nationals when I was 14. That was
Wow.
something really meant a lot to me, and it still does. And for me, winning the Asian Championships for the first time, it was here in Chennai.
Okay.
That was another memorable victory.
Wow, the age of 14 national champion. That's it's quite amazing. So, how many? I know it's squash is a game where you need tremendous amount of energy, tremendous amount of stamina. So, kind of just for the viewers, because my angle comes in from the fitness angle, diabetes prevention, obesity, not just diabetes, but the young children, becoming so obese, overweight, eating junk food, and you're kind of you epitomize the opposite end of the spectrum, totally fit, totally thing. So learning from you would be a great learning for youngsters. How many hours can you practice a day? Or
So I wasn't always a pretty lazy squash player. I just depended on skill quite a bit till I actually tore my ACL about 8-9 years back. And overnight, I was left with not having a career, not being able to walk properly, just coming out of surgery, and the recovery is obviously about months.
wow.
So opportunity, I mean, that moment really gave me an opportunity to start from scratch and really get my body to be the way I wanted to be, as a good athlete, as a better squash player, and just for my own health. So I really started working hard physically, watching my diet, and just because, like, I think we take our body for granted quite a bit, and the
Okay.
body is so special, it's so magical. So I think for me, it was just about appreciating what body can do as a human being and as an athlete. And if I was going to be achieve anything in squash, I knew that I had to treat my body right, eat well, sleep well, and then only the results would come. So so since then I've really not taken my foot off the accelerator. Like, I'm very particular about how I train, my nutrition, um, and I just try to look after my body to the best that I can.
Is it a kind of 7-day schedule, or you take 1 day break, or 6 days, or how is it? It's a
So I try and train from Monday to Saturdays. I train about 2 to 3 times a day, but in the middle of the week, I take half a day off. Go back to the grind again from Thursday evening, then Friday, Saturday, I do just one session, and then Sunday is completely off.
Sunday's rest. You need that day for the muscles to come back and so on. So, apart from the squash, which you keep on practicing, do you also do running and to improve your stamina? Do you do any long distance running or short sprints or something like that? Do you do, because you'll need tremendous amount of stamina to keep this up?
Yes, so I from Monday to Saturday, including the squash, which I try every day or maybe twice a day with the squash. I also try and fit in my fitness and my gym program to strengthen my muscles. So do a lot of 3 times a week I do weights. A couple of times a week I do like my own body weight exercises, and I try and do fitness about 3 to 4 times a week. So I try and fit all of that in from Monday to Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, you have to do that. What about diet? Do you take any extra protein and all that to build up muscle and strength and so on? Are you a vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
No, I do have non-veg. A little bit more particular with my diet, wherein the minute I finish training, I try and eat my meals within half an hour of training, so that I can get the best out of my workout. So I try and carry my protein shake with me to get that protein immediately after the workout, and then I try and have my meal within half an hour as well. I try and get home quickly after a stretch and after a session. So I try and eat my meals as much on time, as possible. and of course it includes a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, equal amounts of carbohydrates, and yeah, just trying to be as, it's not about being healthy, but it's just trying to get in the right kind of food into your system that you need to perform at your best.
Yeah, I think you're doing it right, because if I was to advise my people with diabetes to control the diabetes, or somebody who's overweight to reduce their weight, this is what I'd be saying: take more vegetables, take fruit, take more protein. Of course, for my from my specialty, I'll say cut the carbs a little bit, because if you eat too much of rice and too much of thing, weight will go up, and so it becomes a little unbalanced. So that, I think, is part of the thing. I mean, you're kind of now still at the peak of your career. So what is your ambition? What are you aiming for?
Few good years left in squash. I definitely feel at my physical best, and I think this break from the tour has also, because of the corona, has given me a little bit of a new life in my body as well, and mentally. So I mean, my end game is the Commonwealth and the Asian Games. That's been my biggest motivation for the last 6 years in 2022. So that's really what keeps me going, and hopefully winning a gold in both those events.
Yeah. So for the the world ranking, so the Asian and the Commonwealth are there, but then there are people who are neither in Asia nor in Commonwealth. So how does it work with the World Federation? Do you have a separate event? I know the Olympics is not there, but is there a separate world competition kind of a thing, or they just rank you with that, or how does it happen?
Cyrus, I think you can.
Yes, so we do have world championships as well, and we have a professional squash association tour. That's the PSA tour. So that's the events which players like Joshna need to play throughout the year. They play between 10 and 12 tournaments a year. So on that basis, they get their world ranking. So Joshna is currently ranked 10 in the world.
Very good. Excellent.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, big congratulations. But then I think we want you to get the number one. And we'll all pray for you. And I'm sure with your determination, with your hard work, you can get it one day. And so day is not far off. And you should keep aiming for that. I have a few questions here so that people don't, feel neglected. Sumit Revari is asking, is it good for an active young person to use a pump? Sumit, you've just heard Roshan, she is an active young person. So I think that qualifies your definition of an active young person. So the more active you are, I think better that you use a pump, because pump gives you, of course, Roshan is a little different because she was on one injection earlier, and from there to a pump, she's a little different. But imagine the typical type 1 patient who is taking 4 to 5 injections in a day. 4 is minimum, and some take even 5. So from there, switching to a pump gives you total flexibility, because you don't have to keep poking yourself. Just imagine 5 pokes a day into 365 days. You do the maths. It's something like, if it's 400, it's 2,000. Something less than 1,800 pokes a day you're going to have. Poking yourself 1,800 times in 1 year. Here, it's working.
The other pokes are the blood sugar pokes. The blood sugar poke is a different one.
That's a different. Yeah. So those pokes are another 1,000. So you've got like thousands and thousands of pokes. So Roshan, why don't you answer that? I can't answer it because I've neither been on a pump nor I've been on 4 times insulin. So you can answer that. How is the pump?
So actually, I had again a prejudice against wearing it, thinking that when doctor said it's a very small little pager, you just have to wear it and it'll be on you throughout. So my first reaction, I must admit, is how will I wear all my how can I continue to be a fashion statement wearing a pager looking thing? I couldn't say it in front of doctor, but that was my thought. And finally, when I wore it also for a year, I changed my wardrobe to trousers. But one fine day, it was a New Year's Eve, and I said, what the hell? I'm going to wear the pump under my dress. And I wore it underneath. We happen to wear a sacred thread. So that's tied around our waist. So for me, it works perfectly. I just tie it around my waist. In fact, I'll show you. Right now, it's here.
Wow. Okay.
So
So
it
that's all.
doesn't have to.
So Sumit, I hope you have answered that question. Roshan
Yeah,
has
it's
even
very,
posted.
very convenient. You just have to press the button and you have to just change it once every 3 or 4 days, and you're sorted out. You're good to go anywhere.
So, doctor, the question is because I know Sumit and his son did
Okay.
play squash. So,
Okay.
would it be good for a squash player or such an
Ah.
active player? Can you be specific on that account?
Yeah. So I don't think it will be a hindrance at all for a squash player. In fact, I think it's an advantage because it will give you smoother control when you play the squash. You can reduce the dose. You can set it once you've already taken the insulin. You cannot do anything. It's already gone in. Whereas here you can say, let's say from 4 to 6, I'm going to play squash. You can time the pump to say within 4 to 6, you either switch off the pump or give half the dose or whatever, and you can work it out. So I think that way it works out very well. I know that Olympic champions have won the pump and won the Olympic Games. And let me talk about, Gary Hall, the Olympic swimmer, whose father and grandfather were Olympic champions. No, father and uncle, I think, were Olympic champions. Grandfather was also a swimmer. Father had won the Olympic gold itself. And so, like Joshna's father taught her squash, this man's Gary Hall's father is called Gary Hall Jr. and Gary Hall Sr. So Gary Hall Sr. taught this boy swimming, and his only aim in life was to win the Olympic gold. Okay, and the first Olympics he took part, he got silver. Russian guy beat him, and he got the silver. So he said, "I'm coming back next time, 4 years, and I'm getting the gold." And guess what? 2 years later, he gets type 1 diabetes. Okay, and his doctor told him, "You're finished. You can just stop. You're finished." So he actually stopped swimming for about 3-4 months. Then he said, "You know what? I'm going to try." So he took up swimming, wearing a pump, started training. 2 years later, came back to the Olympic Games with type 1 diabetes and won 2 golds, not one, two. Okay. So this is Gary Hall. You can Google him. You can find him. I've met him. I met Gary Hall. He's about 6 feet 4 feet. And actually, when he finished the thing, he writes, in his blogs, he writes that when he finished and then, he had a hypo. So when he went to receive the medal, he was standing there and he didn't know the medal was actually given because he had kind of passed out by that time. And they put the medal and all, and then he is kind of walking around, say, "You got gold medal, congratulations," saying, "For what? What?" He said, "You just won the gold medal, Olympic gold medal." And they gave him something to eat. So they've done it. So he has run swimming and he's won a gold medal with it, So, but there are others who without that also. Wasim Akram, the Pakistan captain, he got type 1 diabetes when he was 28. So he got, after he had taken 250 wickets. And again, they told him, "Your career is over." Next 250 wickets he took with type 1 diabetes. He never went on pump. When I last saw him, he was not on pump. He was taking 4 injections a day. But he was so casual about it. He'll bring his pen and he'll keep it in the restaurant when you go for dinner, and he'll keep it there and he'll take it in front of everyone in the restaurant. He'll take it. And so he never hid the fact. And again, he showed that type 1 didn't stand in his way. Imagine the first 250 wickets is when he's younger. The next 250 is when he's older, okay, with type 1 diabetes. And they still did it, So I don't think for sport we need to worry about that. So Sumit, don't worry about that. An active person can definitely take that. So Ankit Rai, recently diagnosed type 1, is really helpful, they say. So good. Thank you, Roshan and Cyrus. Hawaii Mystery. Dr. V Mohan, great to know about you. I am Dr. Kapadia from Mumbai. How is it possible to get in touch with you, sir? Dr. Kapadia, you can take my email ID and then you'll let us know how to get in touch with you, and I'll give you my email ID and I'll be very happy to talk to you about that. So we have kind of come to the end of 1 hour, but let us take, one question each to all of you so that a lot of listeners would like to get more information. So I'll start with Roshan. So Roshan, having lived for what now, 40 years with type 1 diabetes? 40?
44 with diabetes.
44 with diabetes. Okay. So having lived for 44 years with diabetes, and you've done remarkably well, I must say, no complications, nothing. So what is your advice for somebody who's recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, somebody who would have just tuned in last week, they'd have got type 1 diabetes. So after 44 years experience, what would you tell them?
So my first thing would be, don't worry. I know it's easier said than done, but keep a calm mind. You need very supportive parents. You need a very supportive doctor who you have, Dr. Mohan. And you just need to inculcate some amount of control definitely over what you eat. You have to build in some time for exercise every day. And
Do you do it every day, Roshan? I forgot to ask you. Do you do exercise every day?
yeah, I try to walk for 40 minutes. I try my best. Weekends, I try to, sometimes I take a break, but 5 days at least, I try my best to walk for at least 40 minutes.
Okay.
And
Good.
with some exercise and with food control, and just be conscious of your sugar levels, you have to test them somehow, whether it's urine test or whatever test works for you. Make sure you can test yourself somehow, reasonable amount of times. You can at least control the sugars. If they go out of control, you're reducing the time in which you're out of control. So
Great.
don't
Wonderful.
worry, you can do anything. Like right now, my passion is acting. So I've even managed to go on
You didn't
stage.
tell us about that. Why don't you tell us, Madras players, acting and singing? I didn't ask you about that. So I need to ask you a little bit about that. Because
Yeah.
those are special facets of your career, So tell us about it.
So actually, I started singing when I started my CA. Again,
Okay.
doing CA is not easy. Everyone said only 2% pass. Roshan, are you very sure you want to do? And I said, yeah, I think I'm quite sure I want to do CA. So at that time, the study was so hectic that it was a wonderful opportunity. I got to sing with a performing choir called the Stopgaps. In fact, my conductor is also watching us. So Alfred, a big thank you to you.
Okay.
I traveled with them. It was a huge stress buster, study the whole day, look forward to music practice in the evening, and then perform at the best performing halls in Bombay. And we've even sung at the Vatican City for the Pope. We have sung in France, we've sung in Germany, we've sung for Choir Olympics. We've gone many places. You just need a supportive friends also who you can count on when you travel. I would always ask to team up with a girl who's very practical, who can look after me in case I get a hypo. That would only be who's my partner. And so singing has really done huge wonders to keep me calm. And I got through my whole CA with my choir alongside me.
And then
after
acting was more recent. I remember you invited me for some of your
acting was more recent. Only after coming to Chennai, I got an opportunity to act with the Madras players, with Drama Act, and with the Boardwalkers. And again, my directors and my acting colleagues have been very, very helpful to me. So I really thank them all. Many of them
How
are
many
watching.
plays have you acted so far? How many plays? Many?
Many, okay. I mean, like about 10, 12, I think. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah. It's good. It's a passion for me. So yeah.
Very good. Cyrus, I'm not going to ask you a squash question. I'm going to ask you about what advice will you give for people who are going to get married, as well as to husbands of people with type 1 or wives of people with type 1, spouse.
So, learning from Roshan's father, mother, and herself, the one key is diabetes is a condition. It's not to us, it's not a disease, because when you say disease, everyone feels it's fatal. So it's a condition which you've got to handle like we do in life. And Roshan is fortunately a living example. She eats well. She does eat her chocolates. She does eat her cheese. She does eat her mangoes.
Mangoes, you told me.
Yes. So she does eat all of them. Of course, we try to keep it in moderation. Sometimes it does go overboard, but that's it. So she's learned to manage this, and I think it's great. So yes, it's a condition. There are various conditions in life. You've got to accept it and carry on. You can conquer it if you are positive with it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I couldn't agree with you more, because if you visit every one of our 48 branches in India, there's one statement by me which is put up there: diabetes is not a disease, it's a disorder. And there's something your father taught me long ago, and I just put that up. And how many people say, thank you, doctor. That means we are not a patient, we are a person with diabetes, person living with diabetes. It's only a disorder. So I said, any disorder, you can have your finger little twisted that way or this way, or a hair going this way, or a ear little this thing, or God makes us all in different shapes, in special shapes. So like that, a little pancreas, he forgot to give you a little insulin. Somewhere he must have been busy that day. He must have decided, and he forgot to put in the right amount of insulin in your body. So that's it. That's it. And with that, we can still live. So that's a very positive statement. So Joshna, about your sport, I would like more people to take up this wonderful sport for the simple reason that it is, for example, even ladies can take this up as you have shown because it's indoors. And then you don't have those who have sunburn, this problem, tanning problem, all these kind of other things are not there. Plus, it's a fantastic healthy sport. You can really burn calories. You can reduce weight. Those who want to reduce weight, instead of going on all these junk foods and keto diets and so on, if they just take up squash and then start working out an hour or two, 800 calories is not a joke to burn in 1 hour. So if they are able to do that, so from a health point of view, from the young generation point of view, I'm not just talking about people with diabetes. A lot of youngsters are putting on weight. When I was in school, if I had one fat boy in this whole school, not in my class, the whole school, we'll call him fatty, fatty, because there's one guy. Today, whom do you call fatty? 30%, 40% of the class is fat now. So the thin guy is now called thin. The fat fellows become now the new normal now. In US, it's even worse. So I think people like you should talk about this. And even if you and Cyrus can write an article for a blog, just 1,000-word thing about advantages of squash for keeping healthy, I'd be happy to publish it in my in our website and thing. It goes to thousands and thousands of people. And so this is something which really, I think, from India's health point of view for the youngsters. So I would like you to react to that and say what your thoughts are and your advice to youngsters who are struggling with weight. Many boys, girls, youngsters, young adults are all struggling with weight these days. And then, of course, that if you have a family history, then that leads to diabetes also. So what would be your advice?
I definitely agree with you. I believe everyone can play a sport. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your age is, what your gender is. I really believe that obviously kids have more access to sports today. And I think the adults are a little left out. I feel like the adults should actually get a lot more involved in playing, especially the women. If I think Cyrus can help with this, if they let the academy open to the public, just a 1 hour, 2 hour slot where the older generation can get in and play. I think that'll be really great to inculcate their lifestyle, because sport is so important. It's great to go to the gym and do the walks and all of that, but to really play a sport, it's a different feeling altogether. It's so healthy. It helps you unwind, like how Roshan likes, her passion is acting and singing. Like what it does to her is what a sport can do for you. And I really believe that I think sometimes maybe women are a little maybe they're a little embarrassed how they will be, how they will play. All of that needs to just be forgotten and just go in and have fun, no matter what sport you play. Of course, squash is very healthy. It's a great sport to play, but I think we need to just let go of all the inhibitions. How you look, how you're going to hit the ball, all of that. Get all of that. Go pick up a sport, find a partner, find a friend, companion. Look up places that you can go to a public facility and try and get that half an hour, 1 hour of your time on your own to play a sport, to learn a sport. I think it's really, really important, and I think it's important for kids to see their parents actively healthy, playing sport. It just creates such a positive vibe from the time they're really young. And yeah, so I definitely encourage everyone playing a sport, no matter what sport.
How young? How young can they start?
It depends. For me, I started playing when I was 8, 9, but it started before that, because at home I would hit the ball
Fathers playing, yeah.
on the wall. I would just keep hitting the wall, and it was getting really dirty. And my mom said, "Please go to the court and play. Don't play here." So it just starts, from a really young age, actually. And I think kids should be encouraged at 4, 5 to just hold a bat, hold anything, just keep moving things around in an open space. And then slowly, when you find that there is some interest, like put them in different sports, see what they like, but always encourage your child, to play any sport. Even if education is a priority, sport should be a part of your life, no matter what.
I entirely agree, and I'm glad you brought up that instance, and that's something for Cyrus to think about. The older men and women, you can even have it at separate times. If 1 hour, 2 hours in the morning for one group, and evening for another group, or two separate slots in the evening, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, whatever. Now, I remember when Joshna was talking, I was just remembering one of my friends. She had joined a group. She was 45 plus, and she was very fond of dancing, and so she joined a dance group for married women who have children and so on. So they formed a group of their own age group, and then they started doing dances, and after 2-3 months they were able to give a performance. So here are these women, 50 years old, 45 years old, some even older, 60 years old, giving a dance performance, and very quickly they've come back. They've learned something in childhood, because then after that, they think, oh, now how can I go? But then there was a special group saying, no, this is for you all. We don't have any youngsters here. So you all can feel no inhibitions, as Joshna said, no inhibitions. You just come and we'll teach you. And there's a person willing to teach them. And that is how, I went for one of those, and I said, oh my God, if we can dance at this particular age. Because my daughter, she is introducing dance as a form of, she's a diabetologist also, Dr. Anjana. And so she is introduced, she's innovated actually, something called Tanda. That is a special form of dance to reduce your diabetes and reduce weight. It's a high intensity exercise, only 12 minutes you need to do. And by 12 minutes, you'll be out, that much of. So she has pilot tested that. Then she wrote a project on it. She showed how it can be done. Then she went to Scotland, trained the Scottish girls there. Then she wrote a UK grant, which got funded. So now she's doing a project. She measured how much of VOX and VMAX and all the, how many calories you burn and all that she's done very fine. How much sugar comes down, how much weight comes down, all that she has done. So that's again for done, but that's mainly for youngsters. So very high intensity. They don't have much time. So 12 minutes, you can do it at home. And so that is something you can done. So at any age, physical activity is good. Even simply walking about gives you enough. Even if you do the household chores, that also gives you enough. So don't sit, move. Instead of sitting, if you can stand, it's good. Instead of standing, you can walk, it's good. Instead of walking, you can run, it's good. So whatever you do is still good. But I think we must become a fit nation. Unfortunately, India is progressing to become the diabetes capital of the world and the obesity capital of the world and everything. All the bad things, we get the gold medal, Joshna. That's why I want you to go and get all those gold medals in the sport and, say that we'll get the gold medals in the right thing. I used to joke that in the Olympic Games, it's no longer true and it's not fair to say it, but this is just a joke, saying that, in the game where you really don't have to move at all, we get an Olympic gold. Shooting. Stand perfectly still, don't do anything, then shoot, there we get. But we have to move, run, there we don't get the gold medal. No? Because our muscles are not strong enough, we are not eating the right protein, we are not strong enough, fit enough. So we have to start training all that from the young age. That's why I asked what age. I think even from age 4, 5, they can start. Real champions you want to build, you must start very, very early and then develop these. And one day, hopefully in the Olympic Games also, it will come. And I know that you also work with, Geet Sethi, Geet Sethi well, and he is trying to put a Olympic Quest program he has, where he's trying to identify people. So I think more of this movement of sport, games, ultimately translating into health, good health. So that way we'll have a healthy nation, and maybe if you do it really, well, people like me will be out of business. And I think that's the best thing that can happen to me. I can retire by saying that there are no more diabetics. We have no more people with diabetes. We have eliminated all that by healthy eating. One of my teachers actually asked me, are you serious? Are you really serious about this prevention stuff? You really want to go out of business? And I said, there are so many other things I can do. If diabetes goes away and I convert my hospital into a museum one day and say, this is where people used to inject insulin and now it's all gone. We don't have it. By the time type 1 diabetes will be cured, type 2 diabetes will be prevented, and India will be a very healthy nation. For that, we need people like you, Roshan, to show the way. We need people like you, Cyrus, who took to coaching so early in life. And of course, we need real celebrities and hardworking people like Joshna to keep the Indian flag flying. And talking the Indian flag, only on Independence Day to talk about that, it's very patriotic that all of us should make this a healthy India. So on that note, I want to thank Roshan, thank Cyrus, and thank Joshna. for joining in, and wish you all the very best. Let's have more such interactions. Maybe there'll be more platforms where we can have face-to-face thing where we bring in people and motivate them. So a very big thank you to all of you.
Doctor, I'd like to really thank you very much. Before we end this, let me just say a quick thanks first to my parents who are watching,
Please,
my husband,
please, go ahead.
for being my pillars of strength every day of my life. I also want to thank my siblings, my children, of course, and all my friends around for being there for me. And last but not least, and from the bottom of my heart, I would like to say that I've truly been blessed to have a doctor who not only is a fount of wisdom, revered and regarded at the highest levels in India in the international diabetic and medical fraternities, but also who is a very, very caring and understanding doctor with all his patients. And lastly, my thank you would not be complete without acknowledging the highly competent team at Dr. Mohan's Diabetic Center, who have nearly become second family to me over the past 16 years and helped me every step of the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roshan. Very kind of you. And all of you stay safe during COVID. We thought the numbers in Chennai has gone below 1,000, and yesterday again it went above 1,000. Nothing to worry. There's only few numbers here and there, but we're still not out of the woods. So let's all stay safe. Another 3 months, 4 months, if we hang on, then it will be. So Joshna, before I go away, so when is all your circuits and all starting? How is the international scene in this? When are you going to start all that? Nothing known yet?
But they've given us a provisional calendar to start from the second week of September in UK.
Oh, that early.
Then, then there are several tournaments that follow up in Egypt over the next 3 months till the first week of December. Okay. But they've not confirmed anything because they all still need approvals and, signing off on having a tournament, quarantine rules. Also, the flight situation is not, black and white yet.
Too early. September's too early. Yeah.
Right. So it's still a very great.
I think by the end of the year, things will be much better because let's not, it's going to go away. People, sometimes, WHO and all put out things is going to be there forever, never. No pandemic in history has ever stayed like that. So I cannot accept the fact that next year we'll be having a lot of COVID. It will go. But India is a big country and it's just taking time. It's moving now from Chennai to Madurai, it went from there to Coimbatore, it went from there to Theni, Dindigul. From Chennai, it's gone to, Chengalpet, Kanjipuram. All these places just was a virus. It keeps spreading. Then slowly, it will way out. Just like it came in, it'll go out. So until then, everybody who's watching and stay safe and all the very best and happy Independence Day. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you.